Got my attention. So do you know what dinosaur this is from?
I don't. It was my grandfather's. I have no idea. I just know that it's a dinosaur bone.
It's a big dinosaur.
Yes. I'm here at the pawn shop today to sell my grandfather's dinosaur bone. He's had art all over his house, and this was one of the things that was displayed. I'm not even sure if it's just a piece of art or if it's a real dinosaur bone. If I'm able to make a deal, I'm getting a mommy makeover and going to Hawaii.
I am just like baffled. To find something this big and intact is incredible. In the 1800s, they realized that, hey, there was really big animals walking around the planet at one time. And soon after, archaeologists started racing to excavate whatever fossils they could find. So there were certain deposits in the United States where there's just massive amounts of them.
Right.
So, how much do you want for this thing?
I was thinking $40,000.
$40,000.
It's pretty old.
Okay. We don't even know what kind of dinosaur it's from.
Okay.
I also know that a lot of times they'll find, say, this bone right here and cast the rest of it in plaster. So a lot of times these dinosaur bones are not all complete. Sometimes only, that might be real dinosaur.
Oh.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna put that back for you. Okay.
Oh,
there we go. Put his toe back.
Put his toe back.
So, let me get someone down here to see if the entire thing is real, and he should be able to tell us the dinosaur's name.
Awesome. That would be great.
Yeah, it was Bob the dinosaur.
Right.
All right. So give me a few minutes. I'm gonna give this guy a call, and I'm gonna get him down here, and we'll get this figured out.
Perfect.
Just goes to prove you never know what's gonna walk through that door.
Right. I'm totally happy with an expert coming in. I'm really excited to see if it's real and what it's worth.
So there it is.
Wow.
I think it's real.
Hi, how are you?
All I know is it's a dinosaur leg.
This is Camarasaurus. Camarasaurus was a long-necked dinosaur that lived in the Jurassic period. It's a quadrupedal dinosaur, walked on 4 legs.
Okay.
To authenticate, we'll take a look at this to see if there's any cast pieces. Weight is gonna be the first indicator. That definitely feels like a cast toe.
Okay.
That's not that big a deal. Looks like these little toes. Well, there we're starting to get into some real bones. These metacarpals, these are real.
All right.
If it were cast, this would be much lighter, so that's great. The real value is in the real bones, the humerus, the radius, and the ulna. That's where the meat of the piece is. This is kind of the details.
All right.
The dead giveaway is gonna be if we can see any cell structure. Here, I'm gonna come around this side, Rick. All right. You see the black and white difference there?
Uh-huh.
That looks like calcite that's infilled the bone cells. So this bone, this is definitely real.
Okay.
Take a look at the humerus. Look at that. You see that cell structure in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, this bone is definitely legit.
Okay. So the big question, what do these things go for?
If this thing came into my museum, I'd be very comfortable appraising it at $25,000.
Well, thanks again, man. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So what do you think of that?
So I'm pleased that it's, for the majority of it, is authentic.
I mean, what will you take for it?
So what about 21,000?
I'll give you 15 grand for it.
How about 20?
I'll tell you what, I'll give you 18,000, not a penny more. That's my top dollar.
Sold.
Sweet. I will meet you right over there, and we'll do some paperwork.
Thank you.
I just bought a dinosaur leg.
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
What do we have here?
I've been told these are a couple dinosaur eggs.
All right, so how do we know they're dinosaur eggs?
That I don't know. I didn't live back then. I'm coming to the pawn shop today to try to sell what I think is a pair of dinosaur eggs. I think the rock could be millions of years old. I'm going to ask $20,000 for them. If they're dinosaur eggs, I think that they're worth that much because they're really rare.
You know, normally I would think you were crazy and just brought me in a giant rock, but you mind if I take a look at it?
Sure.
I mean, I guess they kind of look like eggs if they've been flattened. I mean, it's definitely got some chisel marks here where you can tell it where it was actually like chipped out of something, which tells me it's got to be something. I don't know what it is. I mean, I'm not a geologist, I'm not a paleontologist. Do you know if that crack is natural, or was it cracked and then they put it back together or something?
I don't know that.
I'm not an expert when it comes to dinosaur eggs, but I do know people pay a lot of good money for cool dinosaur stuff. That's if they're legit. Any idea what you want for them?
20,000.
20,000? Okay. You know, I'm not too sure on the value of dinosaur eggs, but I do know Nicolas Cage paid like $1 million for a Tyrannosaurus Rex skull. So,
Wow, that's serious.
I got a buddy named Tom who is a paleontologist. Do you mind if I have him come down and check him out?
That would be great, sure.
All right, I will be right back. I'll see if I can get him down here.
Perfect,
Feel free to
thank
take
you.
a look around. I have no idea whether these are real dinosaur eggs, but I'd be pretty pissed if I let a fossilized T-Rex egg walk out the door without making an offer. So I gotta find out exactly what they are. So it's either a giant rock or it's dinosaur eggs.
Oh, boy.
I'm just hoping it's real. That would be cool.
In the early 1990s, thousands of these eggs came into this country and appeared in many of the markets. And at that time, there was a real excitement about dinosaur eggs. But let's determine that they're real.
Okay.
The first thing I'm going to look for is a uniformity in the thickness of the shell. If you look at the shell from the side, you'll see a very constant thickness. You'll see the color differentiation between the sediment on the interior
Right.
and the actual shell itself. Well, in my opinion, these are absolutely original eggs.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
These are 70 to 80 million years old. But what I don't like, what I'm seeing is, I
What's
see a
that?
crack in this area that comes around that indicates this egg was actually added to this piece of stone, trying to make it look like it's a pair of dinosaur
Okay.
eggs. Now, normally, a single egg is never worth as much as it is if it's part of a pair or a triplet, making them on the market more valuable, but knowing that they're not original to each other, it makes it less valuable.
Any way to know what kind of dinosaur it would have been?
Well, this egg has been identified as Dendrolithus. It would have been a duck-billed dinosaur.
A duck-billed dinosaur.
Wow.
It's like the lamest of all dinosaurs, right?
Well, I don't know about the lamest. I actually find them quite interesting. They were one of the favorite meals of a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
So how much do these things go for? Because I have no idea what dinosaur eggs are even worth.
The value of these eggs is nowhere near what they were in the early years. Because there are actually tens of thousands of these eggs on the international market today. I see these made available anywhere from maybe $300 to $600 an egg in this condition.
That's a big difference from the 20,000. At least we know what they are.
Well, my man, appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
No problem, buddy. Thank you.
you.
Bye. Dinosaur eggs become something that is a focal point in any conversation. How cool it is to have a dinosaur egg on your coffee table and you've got friends over and you start talking about, this is a real dinosaur egg.
So what do you think?
Tom just said between $400 and $600 a piece.
Okay,
So that's what I would be able to sell it for.
okay.
So I'd offer you $400.
Can you do 800?
I really can't. You know, I mean, figuring the most I'm gonna be able to get out of these is 12. And a year from now, if they're sitting here, I'm gonna knock them down to, you know, $800, and then I'm gonna knock them down to, you know, 600. So I'll tell you what, I'll go $500.
500? Okay,
All right?
all right.
So,
Thank you.
Tell you what, why don't you grab this and meet me over there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I'm glad the dinosaur eggs checked out. They may not be from a T-Rex, but they'll still freak Chum out when I tell him they're gonna hatch.
What do you have here?
I have some vintage Jurassic Park toys for you.
Okay, Jurassic Park, pretty iconic movie where the scientists decided it would be a great idea to make a theme park zoo, but instead of giraffes and elephants, we're gonna have T-Rexes and all the other dinosaurs. And the Velociraptor seems to not have been the right dinosaur to clone.
I'm at the pawn shop today to sell my vintage Jurassic Park action figures. I've got a bunch of Jurassic Park toys in my collection. I'm just trying to thin down the herd. I'm looking to get $820 for all 4 of my Jurassic Park action figures.
This is cool. Jurassic Park franchise is huge. In 1990, Universal bought the rights to Michael Crichton's book before it had even been published. And then in 1993, Steven Spielberg had produced this giant movie, and it was just bigger than life at the time. I mean, it was the biggest grossing movie all the way up until 1997 when Titanic came out. So that tells you how big Jurassic Park was. And Jurassic Park is one of the coolest movies, you know, from our childhood. For me, going back and watching it as a kid, knowing what I knew as a 13-year-old, in my mind, I was thinking, whoa, soon we really are gonna be able to clone dinosaurs. So tell me what you have here.
We have the Tyrannosaurus Rex from Jurassic Park 3. This is from the first movie, the electronic velociraptor, so he actually does the dino screams. Then we have the young T-Rex with the battle-damaged removable wound. And then I've never actually seen the Spinosaurus. I think that came from a theme park they had, so I don't know if that was sold in stores or not.
Oh, so you've never seen it for sale?
I have no information on that one.
Okay, where did you get it?
I bought it from another collector, so.
Okay, you got a nice little collection going here. You got some stuff from different parts of the series releases, so that's pretty cool. So what are you looking to do with these dinosaurs?
I'd love to sell them.
And how much are you looking to get for the set?
I'd like to get around $820 for all 4.
Okay, I don't really know the prices on these, and I'm really interested in the Spinosaurus. Just to think that this could have been a theme park exclusive makes it all that much harder to get. If you have a few minutes, I can call my buddy over. He has a toy shop, Rogue Toys, right across the street, specializes in this stuff. Take a look at everything and tell me what he thinks it's worth, and then we can negotiate a price.
All right, sounds good.
All right, give me just a minute. I'm gonna go call him.
When the expert comes in, worst case is the value's a little bit lower, but I still get to learn about the Spinosaurus that I know nothing about.
What's up, chum? How are you?
Not bad. So this is what I called you about. This gentleman has a few toys from Jurassic Park.
Right. Well, first off, Jurassic Park was huge, and there's a huge collector base for it. It rivals more popular franchises like G.I. Joe, and in my stores, it's hard to keep this stuff on the shelves. So it looks to me like nothing here has ever been opened, is that correct?
They're all factory sold brand new.
Ah, very cool. So let me take a look here, and you know, obviously, package condition can definitely affect the value of toys. This electronic velociraptor, you do have damage here on the back. There is a lot of wear and tear, and that does affect the value a lot for a collector. This Jurassic Park 3 T-Rex, a little bit of separation there on the tape, but they're pretty plentiful out there. And, you know, obviously, Tyrannosaurus Rex is just, that's always been the dinosaur in every line, that's the one that everyone has to have. But this, I have some issues with. This box front should be this red. So this, at some point, has taken some sun damage. Again, it's desirable, but it does affect the value quite a bit. Still a neat toy, though. This guy, the Spinosaurus, this is a really unique toy, and the reason being is because it's been incredibly rare to find, because this was a park distributed item. When they announced that they were putting these out, there were lines for people to come down to get this toy. And it could be as little as 500 to 800 of these things got produced.
Okay, so you want to kind of give me an overall value and maybe even an individual value of each piece?
Yeah. This electronic velociraptor from the Dino Screams line, I would expect that you would get 50 bucks for this in this condition. For this Jurassic Park 3 T-Rex, 50 bucks for that one as well. This one, I would expect that you would be able to get 200 bucks for it. The Spinosaurus in that condition, I would expect you'd be able to get 300 bucks for it. So as a whole, I think you'd have no problem being able to get $600 for everything that's here.
Okay, well, I think you've told me everything I need to know. I can take it from here.
All right,
I appreciate it.
Good luck, man.
Thank you.
Okay, well, you heard what Steve had to say. Would you take 400?
Can you do a little bit better than that?
What are you thinking?
Maybe 5?
5 is still a little bit high. I could squeeze 450 out, but that's gonna be the max for me. You got some good stuff here, and you got some okay stuff here.
I think 450 is fine.
All right, we got a deal then. Let's go take a bite out of this and write it up.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Did you bring me a pet rock or something?
I did.
Tell me what I'm looking at here.
You are looking at a primate hand from the Neanderthal period.
So we're assuming that this is a, we're gonna say a fossilized version of a hand?
Yes.
It looks like a hand. I mean, it looks like it's missing the middle finger, but that could have been chipped off or worn away, who knows?
We got mad at somebody. I'm coming into the pawn shop today to hopefully sell my primate hand from the Neanderthal period. My stepfather did some work for a guy who owned a store, and he couldn't afford to pay him, so he paid him with a rock instead. I'm hoping to sell it for $15,000.
This is interesting. Neanderthals, they weren't monkeys per se. You know, they were a little bit more evolved than that. There's traces going back almost 400,000 years ago with them. What we do know about them is that they started off in Africa, and then a bunch of them migrated into Europe. They had relatively developed brains. They did know to clothe themselves. They did know how to create fire. Do you have any paperwork, anything like that?
My stepfather took it to an archaeologist, and it was determined that it was primate hand because there's only 3 bones here instead of the 5.
Okay, what are you looking to do with it?
I want to sell it.
Any idea what you're looking to get?
$15,000?
You know, when it comes to stuff like this, it's really easy to get your hopes up real high.
Right.
There's trillions and trillions of rocks out there, and sometimes some of them just get formed into something that looks like something else. You know, that being said, I don't know exactly if it's a fossil or if it's just a really odd-shaped rock. Do you mind if I have a friend of mine come down and take a look at it?
Absolutely.
He knows this kind of stuff pretty well.
Okay.
Okay, so go ahead and hang out. I'll give him a call, see if I can get him back.
Awesome, thank you.
What under earth do we have here besides a rock?
A primate hand from the Neanderthal period.
Wow. If this is a Neanderthal fossil, priceless. I mean, they are so rare. Well, let me take a look at this and see what I think we've got here. As I'm looking at the piece, I'm looking to make sure that it really is bone, that it's fossilized, and trying to see what kind of rock that it was formed from. As I look at this rock, I am not seeing bone at all. I'm seeing sand. So I don't think it's a fossil per se. So we've got one of 2 things going on. It's just basically your eyes playing tricks on you.
Right.
Or we have an actual imprint. His hand goes down, it gets filled over with silt,
Right.
and over the years it hardens and becomes rock. So where did it come from?
Our town in Yucca, Arizona.
So it's from Arizona?
Yes. Well, I don't know where the rock itself came from, but I don't think it was found in Arizona.
No, because Neanderthals weren't in
Right.
Arizona. They actually lived in Europe.
So, what do you think?
My hunch, and I'm fairly sure about this, it's clearly an imprint. I see what appears to be appendages, but to my eye, these aren't human. I think we've got a dinosaur footprint. And there's a dinosaur called a Parasaurolophus that has a 4 or 5-toed foot. And I think that's what we've got here, with this being the little claw coming off the thumb. So to me, Parasaurolophus bends down to eat, puts his hand in the mud, stands back up, mud gets filled in. 100 million years later, somebody finds it in an old quarry or something, and you've got this.
Never even thought of a dinosaur.
So what would a dinosaur footprint be worth?
One of this size, I'd say $1,000.
All right, well, Bob, I appreciate you coming down.
Always
Thank
a
you very much.
pleasure.
It was
Thank
nice
you.
meeting you.
You bet. People love to collect dinosaur fossils or fossilized footprints. Very, very collectible.
Okay, so you were asking for $15,000. I've got to go with my guy Bob. If I had to make you an offer, I'd offer you about $500. You know, I know it's hard to go from $15,000 to $500, but you also thought you had something completely different. That being said, how do you feel about $500?
I think I'm going to go ahead and take it home to my nephews then.
Okay, well, if you ever change your mind, I'm here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I wasn't going to sell it for $500 because it's a dinosaur footprint and my nephews would really enjoy it. and they would think it's cool.
What in the world do we have there?
Dinosaur.
This is dinosaur what?
Dinosaur coprolite. Dinosaur poop.
This is dinosaur poop.
Yes, sir.
Doesn't smell like poop.
My don't stink. I've always loved dinosaurs. Some people like to sit there and watch football. I like to go out on the weekends and pick up some dinosaur poop.
So where did you find this stuff?
Central Wyoming. It's not easy to get.
Okay. It's petrified dinosaur turds.
That's what it is.
You know, basically ended up at the bottom of a lake somewhere where there's no oxygen, so it really couldn't rot. And then you have a bunch of dirt that gets on top of it and eventually fossilizes, and you get something like this. It's a very pretty stone. They've been making jewelry out of it for hundreds and hundreds of years.
This rock here could be, you know, made up into over 1,000 earrings, but it's probably more valuable just as it is as a specimen.
Okay.
When corpolite is cut and polished, it's a very popular stone in jewelry. But I have to wonder, would it be so popular if people knew what it was originally made out of?
It feels like, you know, stone. How do you determine this isn't some giant piece of quartz or something like that?
Oh, just the varying colors.
Okay. It looks like two different meals. I mean, we have two different textures, and the coloring on this one's a little bit different than this one.
That had barbecue sauce on it or something.
And how much does this one weigh?
That's approximately 42 pounds.
And what's this one?
That should be about 38 according to my bathroom scale.
All right.
Fossils aren't that difficult to find, but dinosaur corpolite can be valuable, especially one of this size. So this one could be special if it truly is corpolite and not just some rock.
And how much do you want for it?
Well, I believe this here should be worth about $40 a pound. You'll never find another one like it.
You know, I'd like my gemologist to take a look at this. Maybe he knows what this stuff goes for. Can you come back later?
Sure.
All right.
To me, this just looks like a hunk of rock, but luckily I have a gemologist on staff. Jeff will be able to tell me if this is dinosaur crap or a piece of crap.
Holy There's some big chunks of rock here.
Is this dinosaur poop?
You're only gonna see what it is now and not what it was 20 million years ago. You have silica, which is quartz. You might have some calcite in here. The way that you can tell this is actual coprolite is by looking at the texture, the shape. You're looking for something that's rounded, it's bulbous.
Kind of like a popcorn texture.
That's exactly it. From what I can tell, it's fossilized dung.
So it used to be dung, but then it turned into something else.
Yeah.
Okay.
20 million years, yours will look like this.
I would go to the hospital if I had something like this.
As a gemologist, what I'm looking for is growth structure and the round bulbous formation that indicates this is coprolite. If you're not trained, this is just gonna look like a rock.
So what's this stuff worth?
Most likely, this is not gonna be sold as a specimen. This is just a yard rock. The purpose of this would be to cut it up to make jewelry out of. Most of the stuff's gonna sell for about $10 to $15 a pound.
Yeah, maybe for some of the smaller stuff, but not in chunks this big.
Although this is a very large size, I would cut this up because you don't see anything that really shows this off being dung.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
It's always great to hear that something is legit and potentially valuable. Now I just have to talk this guy down from his crazy asking price, because they're not gonna sell as is.
You know, we're pretty far off of the prices. I'll give you $1,000. You know, there's not a lot of collectors of this stuff.
I would probably let both of them go for $1,500.
I will give you $1,100 total. That's the best I can go.
How about 12?
1,100.
1150?
1,100.
I know there's a very, very small supply.
There's also a very, very small demand.
All right.
All right. I'll meet you right over there and I'll write you up.
Okay.
One dinosaur's trash is another man's treasure.